Hello and welcome to the first episode of Aico TV. I'm Alex Garmston, Marketing Manager here at Aico.
And I'm Holly Moore, a Marketing Executive here at Aico.
Today we have an action-packed lineup and here's what's coming up. On today's episode we have the history of Aico with our National Sales Director, Steve Trafford.
Then we'll hear about training and development with Carl Jones from Shropshire Business Live with Roy Ames.
Then we have Aico in the community supporting OsNosh with Jane Pritchard and Lily Ellis. We'll be hearing from Tina Mistry and the Women of Aico following International Women's Day.
And lastly, we'll answer one of your most popular frequently asked questions, how to test your alarm.
Now we're going to hear from Steve Trafford, our National Sales Director, who's going to look at the history of Aico. He's going to be at our old premises, coming back to our new premises, looking at the timeline and the history of Aico. Steve, over to you.
Good morning everybody and welcome to Aico TV. My name's Steve Trafford and what I'm going to be doing this morning is giving you a history tour of Aico, and I thought, well, what better place to start than the original home of Aico. So behind me is the original home. Actually, as you work the camera across, it looks like one unit, but we've actually got 3 units there. So the original unit came up to the first roller shutter door, the second unit past the second roller shutter door, and then the third unit is beyond that. So quite quickly in the 90s, Aico expansion took place quite quickly. Okay, so when I started at Aico in 2000, and when I started we occupied the 3 units, so 3 units had been knocked into one, and the business was probably around a £10 million turnover business then. In 2013, Aico acquired this building just up to the sort of red writing that you can see there. 2014, work began on our first ever Centre of Excellence, and the extent of it was up to the red writing. From the first event that we did in 2015, it was quite clear that the Centre of Excellence was never going to be big enough to meet demand. So plans went in quite quickly after the opening to extend the centre. And in 2017, what is today the Centre of Excellence came about. So this was the original car park, and as you can see, we've now joined the 3 units up, this unit and across there. So 2017, Aico's home was a very different looking building to what it is today. But even this wasn't big enough, so immediately moving through 17-18, plans went in place to build our new home that we're in today, so let's go and have a look at that. So now we're about less than half a mile from where we've just been. So from 1990, starting off in one very small unit, which extended to 2, and then to 3, and then the acquisition of Aspect House, and then the small centre, and then the extension, I now bring you to where we are now. So in 2019, we moved into our brand new home on the other side of the industrial estate here in Oswestry. Okay, it's February and it's really cold out here, so why don't we go inside and explore some more history. Okay, so here we are inside our new home, much warmer than outside at the moment, and what we'll do now is go and have a look at our timeline. Okay, here we are at our company timeline. And I suppose really to tell you the history of Aico, I really need first of all to take you back to 1963. So in 1963, General Electric opened a manufacturing facility in Ireland, the southwest, in Shannon, and manufacturing all different kinds of electronics, including a smoke alarm, a domestic smoke alarm. And what you can actually see here is a smoke alarm from 1975. Looks very different to what a smoke alarm would look like today, but that is the first one that came out of the factory. In 1988, General Electric made the decision to pull out of Ireland, and a management buyout took place, and at that point it became Irish owned and EI Electronics. A couple of years later, EI Electronics, as it now is, are looking for a UK distribution arm, so they put an advert out into a trade magazine, and many people responded to that advert, but one person who responded to it was a gentleman called Ken Ainsworth, and conversations took place. EI liked Ken's take on everything, Ken liked EI's take on everything, and that partnership was born there. So Aico was formed out of Ainsworth Company, and that's where Aico, as we know today, started. So looking at the early products, so the early 90s, you can see that the sort of product range is dominated by rectangular detectors. And there was various reasons for this. So the technology at the time was really looking at the different chambers, particularly with optical detectors, and it was much easier to fit that chamber into a rectangular shaped product. I was working in the industry at the time, so I fitted a lot of Aico detectors, and I suppose one of the downsides of this particular shape of detector was for the electrician to actually line them up on the ceiling. You know, they never quite looked straight, so that was one of the challenges for the installer, and there was a demand there for round detectors. So really moving on, I suppose one of the early, most significant developments that takes us right up today is moving from the rectangular detectors that people will remember out there to the round detectors as people know today. So 1999 was the launch of the round detectors in the 140 series, a product that we still do to this day. And as you can see, a neat design compared to the rectangular ones, and the easy fit base made it much easier for installers to slide the detectors on and off. So in terms of replacement business at end of life, it made it much easier. And actually, that base that's there now will still work with the flagship products that we do today. So a really, really important moment in the company's history was moving to that easy fit base and the detectors becoming round. Okay, so this brings us up to the year 2000. So Aico is celebrating 10 years in the UK market. By coincidence, this is actually the year that I started as well with Aico, so I remember it well. In terms of products, as you can see, 2001, we launched our first mains CO detector with 10-year lithium rechargeable cells backing up the mains. I suppose it's fair to say that the carbon monoxide market always fell behind the fire market, but this was a significant step in terms of offering the UK market that particular product. I think a real significant event took place in 2003, and that was when the radio frequency was first launched. So you can see here the original radio frequency base. And this was a real important moment in the company's history. Why? Well, up until 2003, the only method for interconnection was via a hard wire. So effectively, one of the principles of a domestic fire detection system is that a detector talks to a detector talks to a detector. So in the event of this system operating, all the detectors actually sound. The radio frequency base was really asked for by the market. They wanted an easier way of achieving that interconnection without getting floorboards up, without damaging flooring, without damaging carpets. And they really wanted that facility to do that. And the radio frequency base offered that. As we move forward and we go into the more advanced radio frequency technologies, it's much more than just interconnection. But at this point in 2003, it was solely interconnection. So let's say a real important moment in the company's history. 2004 was also a significant year because in 2004 Ken decided that it was time to move on, and the natural place to look at in terms of Aico passing that business on was to EI Electronics. So effectively up until from 1990 to 2004 we was always two separate companies, although I don't suppose we operated like two separate companies to the market. But in 2004 Ken left the market and he sold to EI Electronics. So as of 2004, Aico became a wholly owned subsidiary of EI Electronics. You can see further product development. So 2005, low-level control. So this is again radio frequency, people not having to stand on chairs to test smoke alarms and also having other functionality. And again, you can start to see later on in terms of new battery detector designs and an updated carbon monoxide detector. This is actually the radio frequency version of the one that we spoke about earlier on. I think another significant milestone in Aico's history came in 2008, where we launched the very first electrical contractor's handybook. We didn't really envisage how successful this would be at the time, but the demand for this book was absolutely incredible. I think we put $7.99 a copy on the back and have never ever sold a single copy. We've always given them away on the original version. But in all seriousness, what it actually became was almost like an on-site guide. So the contractors would refer this, keep this in the van and refer to it for everything that it was doing day to day with domestic fire detection and carbon monoxide. I think today we're now up to the 4th edition of this book and have probably given away probably in the region of 150,000 copies of it. So a real important development in Aico's history. And I suppose that was then taken on in 2009 by training. So we wanted to educate the market, we wanted to educate our installers, so we wanted to make sure that the products, not only the products the best on the market, but the installation was the best on the market as well. So in 2009 we launched our first trip into training really, and at that point in time we call it APTIS, Aico Fire Product Trained Installer Scheme. So that was quite a mouthful, and I remember the training packs at the time were sort of this size, so if you was training 10 people you just had a great big pile of training packs. But it started and it took off. And it's a massive tool, even as of today. The training has developed, but an incredible amount of training is carried out in the UK. So some years that will be in excess of 5,000–6,000 individuals trained year on year on year. The training these days is CPD, continual professional development. So in terms of that, it is exactly what it says. So as standards and regulations change, we change the training to complement the new standards and regulations. And we have a whole host of modules, whereas back in 2009, it was central around Aico Fire Product Trained Installer Scheme. So another significant product development around the time was the launch of the multi-sensor. So the first domestic multi-sensor on the UK market. So again, a real significant point in the company's history in terms of taking hold of the market and delivering something new to the market. Okay, that takes us through to 2012, and in 2012 we launched our Handyfacts app, which was basically a digital version of the Electrical Contractor's Handybook. We still had incredible demand for the Electrical Contractor's Handybook, but we could also see demand starting to build for a digital version, so that was launched in 2012. Another sort of like significant product development in 2012 which came to market was a new version of the low-level control switch. We've already talked about the importance of putting low-level control in a system and the options that it gives you in terms of testing without having to get up on a chair or step ladders. But also the aesthetics of it, wanted to improve that, so that came about in 2012. You can also see that in going through into 2013, EI celebrated 50 years of manufacturing in Ireland, so a real milestone in terms of the production. 2014 was significant in terms of the very first journey into this audio link. And why is that so significant? Well, that's because that is our first step into data extraction. So audio link is a method of extracting data from a detector. In this case, this is the battery carbon monoxide alarm. So very simple, use your phone in the vicinity of the detector and you can extract real key information. Has that alarm operated? Has the head ever been removed? If it's seen carbon monoxide, at what level? When is it due to be replaced? All that can be extracted very simply and easy with just using a smartphone. So this moves us through to 2014, another product. This is effectively a bank of relays. So this was launched in terms of, in the main, connected into warden control systems. So what the market was asking for was the signal to be split. So if you was in a call centre, you would know if fire had operated or carbon monoxide had operated, and you could act accordingly. But as everything in Aico, we soon found a whole host of different applications for this particular product. What's probably equally as significant is in 2014, as we saw earlier, a decision was made to build our first centre of excellence so we could bring people down into Oswestry and educate and work with them actually in our own facility. So in 2014, work began on the centre of excellence, and then moving through into 2015, the work continued. And in addition, Aico celebrated 25 years of business in the United Kingdom. Okay, this takes us up to 2015 on our timeline. 2015 was a really significant year in the company's history for so many reasons. In terms of products, we launched our E-Series. That changed so much. So we spoke earlier about the radio frequency base, but going into 2015, the E-Series, that actually changed to a module, and you can actually see one of the modules down here. So that module actually fitted into the back of the detector. And again, we've spoke about audio link, but really that module was in fact going into that world of data download as well as interconnection. 2015 was also significant because it was the year that we opened the Centre of Excellence. And I think, as I said outside the centre, on the launch day, it was very clear very quickly that centre was never going to be big enough. We would have so much demand for customers to come down and use the facilities and be educated. 2015 was significant as well because we had a major overhaul of our training, and this is where Expert Installer was born. So we've talked about Aico Fire Product Trained Installer Scheme. This became Expert Installer Scheme, CPD certified, and again a complete relaunch of our training offering, and that became an absolute must in terms of our installers, our clients. Every single part of the supply chain was involved in being trained, and central to that was Expert Installer. So that takes us then through into 2017, and again a major product upscale in terms of the 3000 series came out. So we went to the E-Series, the 3000 series came out, and this added additional multi-sensors into the range. So a heat CO was brought into this range specifically for kitchens, and a new module which increased the amount of data that could be extracted from the detectors even further. 2017 is also massively significant in terms of the Centre of Excellence. So the extension that we looked on earlier, that took place in 2017, and we launched the new Centre of Excellence just 2 years after the original Centre of Excellence. So real significance in terms of that, but also we needed to take training out remotely. So we had the Centre of Excellence in Oswestry, we could do training in people's premises, but what we wanted was mobile training facilities. So we went away, and the first mobile training facility came out in 2017, to which we now have 4 of those facilities. We also was working much more in terms of social housing with residents. So in terms of social housing, we've always been, since day one, involved with them, but it was really important that we started talking to the residents. Residents should have a voice in terms of what's going on, and we should be engaging with them. So we actually launched a campaign in 2019 to directly talk to the residents of the social landlords. And in 2019 as well, work actually began in the building that we're stood in here today. So that's when the work began, and an incredible speed. Actually took about 11 months from start to finish, and we opened up here in November 2019. So that takes us really to last year, to 2020, a tough year for everybody in terms of the pandemic. But again, lots of things going on in Aico and building up the history of Aico. So 2020, in January, we launched SmartLink, and we've talked a lot about data extraction on the timeline, but this was the first offering where we actually automatically took that data out of the property by using a 2G SIM. So now, rather than talking about interrogating the detectors at the actual location, what we're talking about now is an online portal where you can effectively look at your entire housing stock, what's going on between every detector. So even if you have, let's say, 100,000 properties, 4 detectors per property spread across the entire of the UK, you can see exactly what's going on with that system. Has someone removed a head? Has there been an activation? Is there an issue? Has power been lost? So all of that data can be collected at a single portal and analysed, and then actions carried out accordingly. So 2020 was also 30 years of Aico in the UK, and we managed to get one party in January before the pandemic took hold, and then since then everything has been a real struggle. So that really takes us up to the current day, and then that takes us into 2021 and the next stage in Aico.
It was great to hear from Steve Trafford, our National Sales Director, talk about the history of Aico, going from the old building to the new building we're in now, going along the timeline, look at the innovation and the quality of the products that has changed over time, as well as the literature, merchandise, mobile units, everything that's happened over a 30-year period. We're lucky enough to be sent in one of the alarms from the timeline from a customer recently. For anyone that's not seen one of these alarms before, it's a square alarm with a massive red test button. Very old. This one, has a replace by date of 2012. Holly, have you ever seen one of these alarms before?
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm old enough to remember those alarms, but it is really interesting to see how far along they've come and how quickly as well.
Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't seen one of these alarms before, they're fairly basic, but still life safety product, which is really important. On the inside, it does have a replace by date, which all alarms do have, so please check that. It is important that you do test your alarms monthly by pressing the test button. These products are life safety products. They do create safer homes and ensure you are safe in your homes. We're going to take a short break now and go to an advert, and we'll see you after that.
Introducing the SmartLink Gateway and Cloud Portal service from Aico. A new and innovative product developed with registered social landlords and housing associations, giving you complete control and reassurance when monitoring and maintaining your stock of alarms through SmartLink Cloud Portal. Easy to set up, the gateway is a roaming 2G GSM-based device, ensuring maximum connectivity possible without the need for local broadband or Wi-Fi services, increasing efficiency while remaining compliant with legislation. Featuring real-time alarm status, fault status, text alert and email notification capability for both fire or CO and fault events, as well as installation reports and replacement and fault reports. The SmartLink Gateway and Cloud Portal service is your total solution for alarm maintenance and asset management. The smarter way to check your tenant safety at any time. SmartLink, a revolution in tenant safety.
Welcome back to Aico TV. We're now going to move on to our next segment, which is about training and development here at Aico. Earlier in the week, we welcomed Carl Jones from Shropshire Business Live TV with Roy Ames and our Managing Director here at Aico, Neal Hooper. Let's see what they were talking about.
Hello, I'm Carl Jones from Shropshire Business Live TV. I'm here in the Aico TV studio in OsNosh to find out a bit more about their team development programme, and I'll be talking in a minute to Roy Ames, who's the man who's been brought in to mastermind it all. But first of all, Neal Hooper, the Managing Director, is the man who decided this was the thing he wanted to do. So tell me the background to all of this then, Neal.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I've known Roy for 30 years, during which time he's been a coach at various companies, well aware of Roy's capabilities as a close friend, and also that of Aico, that in order to progress, we needed to develop our colleagues more and more. Aico is a very successful business with outstanding people, but hadn't had a lot of personal development. So the idea was essentially for Roy to come in and to work with all of us individually, then within our teams, and then of course the larger picture of working with the whole company to create our vision statement, our culture, our values, our behaviours, so that people could actually show up day in, day out at their best and know what it actually means to be your best rather than it just being words.
And you're now, what, 2 or 3 years down the line since this process started. Are you pleased with how it's going so far?
Yeah, absolutely delighted. Yes, we're coming to the end of, I think, the 3rd year since Roy came in, and absolutely delighted with progress. And I would go so far as to say the crisis that we're still enduring as a nation or together, Aico wouldn't have been in the position that it has been through it without Roy's work, without the camaraderie, without the teamwork, without the development that's been prevalent throughout the whole business. Aico has actually grown again and had another record year in a crisis.
The brief really, it started with a conversation with Neal. I've known Neal for years socially. Our careers haven't really crossed much in the time that I've known him. But we were just generally having a conversation about the work he was doing at Aico and what the business was like. And we were talking about a gathering of people where he was going to bring the whole business together in the summer of 2018. And we just started talking around some of the things that he might be able to do. And it went from there, Carl.
So at what point then, from that first discussion to having learned enough about the business to know what sort of plan you wanted to put in front of them, how long did that all take?
So I first started talking to Neal around about the May of 2018, and then I sort of asked Neal what kind of things he thought were going well and the areas that he thought we might maybe focus on to make things even better. But I also then asked him if it was possible for me to start to talk to some of the people as well who worked with him. So I broadened out those conversations to be with managers and some of the people who were in the individual teams. And at that point then, I think I had a better understanding of the overall picture within the business. And we started to deliver the first event for teams, starting with the managers first, so that they knew what to kind of expect for their own teams, and they sort of were able to have a conversation around creating the right climate to land it. And then we ran the first events then for each of the individual teams within functions in around the September of 2018. So I guess we're talking about maybe 2 to 3 months.
And getting to actually know the people that you are going to be delivering programs to, I imagine, is probably the most crucial bit, isn't it? You need to see how open they are, how enthusiastic they are.
Yeah, and to be fair, I needed to get to know them well, because first and foremost, we needed to trust each other. And so if I thought, you know, what was the relationship like when I walked through the door, to what the relationship was like by the time we were into day 2 or day 3 of the time together, completely honestly, the atmosphere was very different, because it was very trusting by then, because they knew me and they knew they could be open and honest. And if I was covering something that I thought would be helpful, it was important they were able to challenge and ask questions back. And you don't get there overnight, Carl. It takes a while.
But am I right in saying, I mean, these sort of things never really work unless everybody is prepared to be open, honest, prepared to be a bit self-analytical and look at, you know, admit to things that they maybe aren't doing right or they're not happy about.
Yeah,
that's not always easy, is it?
It isn't always easy, and it is critical that people can do that. And not just within the training environment either. You know, people need to be able to do that in their normal day-to-day work, when they're working with their colleagues or when they're working maybe with extended teams. Because that's the other thing around this development for me, it works on a number of levels. It's great for individuals because they get to find out new knowledge and they can build on their skills, but it also means that they can work better together with their own team colleagues, and they can maybe address issues that people have been a little bit scared to talk about before, but if they talk about them, it really makes things improve. And it also works as well inter-team within the business, because you know, you might have the really tightest team within your function, but if you rely on colleagues in a different part of the business and that's not working too well, yeah, then you need to open the conversations there as well.
And sometimes it's not understanding what each other's jobs is, and sometimes, isn't it? Now, I know you put together an overview, a plan. So let's have a look at this slide here, which explains a bit about how you put the team development program together. Then, so just talk us through this.
Yeah, surely. So what we've got on the slide, first of all, is a series of clouds, if I can describe it in that way. And within each cloud, there's a topic that we covered within the program. The ones that are there in the red clouds are from day 1 of the program. The ones in blue then is what we moved on to within day 2 Yeah, we built on day 1 and moved into day 2. The ones in the orange colour is what we covered in day 3, and the ones that we actually have there in green, which are the ones from day 4. Significantly, although it isn't on the slide, the work that we did to create the values and the vision for the business and the individual behaviours that would underpin that were done between day 3 and day 4 on that map.
And day 5 you collapse and sleep, do you?
Well, this journey never ends, Carl, and so what we said was we would pause at day 4 and we would give people some time then to build on and to embed the values that we'd spoken about to create the right culture for the business. The plan being that we would pick up, say, in the February or March time of 2020 and see how people were getting on. Unfortunately, that was around about the time of the COVID-19 outbreak, and so that really did scupper the best laid plans, and we weren't able to get back together with people until the summer of 2020.
But I guess the one thing that COVID has done is give everybody a little bit more time to sit back and think about where they are with their job, their lives, look at the possibility of either wanting or having to do things differently.
Yeah.
So having these kind of values within a business is more important now than ever.
I think it was particularly important. It would be interesting to think, had we not gone through the journey and had we not done the 4 days of development for people, how the lockdown and the impacts of COVID-19 would have gone, you know, in comparison to having open and honest conversation, gone through all of that process together to really cement people within the business. I personally think it made them stronger to be able to deal with the interruptions that we've had to our normal business.
It was great to hear about the training and development here at Aico. Alex, you've been involved in some of the team building days. Would you like to tell us some more about it?
Yes, yeah, I've been involved in 5 team building days with Aico. Hopefully the 6th day is going to take place soon. Obviously with COVID here, you know, we can't really get together, which I think is needed for team building. It's not something you can do via the computer. It's important to be together to create that sort of team camaraderie as such, but the team building has really helped develop everyone within Aico. It's helped, you know, form our values that you see around the building, as well as our mission statement, and it's formed a great core foundation for the company and organisation. And it's something we use kind of every day whilst we're at work. You know, we talk to our colleagues about it on a regular basis, and I think it really helps when it comes to work as well. So hopefully we'll have that 6th day soon, and we can kind of progress and develop more as individuals and as a team.
Definitely. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed indeed. Now we're going to go to another break, and we're going to look at our new EcoFit range. I won't say too much about it. The advert will tell you everything you need to know. Now we're going to talk to Jane Pritchard and Neal Ellis, members of the Aico in the Community team. They're going to give us an overview of what Aico in the Community is, for those of you who don't know, and look at one of the projects in particular, OsNosh. Jane, can you give me an overview of Aico in the Community for those people that don't know what Aico in the Community is, please?
Okay, so we set up Aico in the Community back in 2018. And it's all about us being able to make a difference, be able to give back to our communities and really support in lots of various ways through educational support, business enterprise, working with local partnerships with local businesses, supporting charities in various different ways, and also offering volunteering opportunities for all our colleagues.
Okay, so how did you learn about OsNosh? And if you could tell me how that came about and what OsNosh is.
Yes, so OsNosh is a community interest charity. They're based in Oswestry. Before COVID, before the pandemic, they were doing some fabulous work. They're very much about combating food waste within the community. So normal times they would collect food from supermarkets and then create lovely meals that they could then hold community kitchens and get people together. Unfortunately, with COVID, that all had to stop. So they set up a brand new initiative to actually do the same thing, collect unwanted food from supermarkets and create these fabulous meals and deliver them to people within the community, people that couldn't get out, people that are stuck in their homes. So you know, it's been great to get involved and support them in the ways that we have, really.
Okay, thank you. Lily, you were fortunate enough to take part in one of the volunteering opportunities that OsNosh provide, but I know there's different volunteering opportunities there. Can you tell me a bit more about those opportunities?
Yeah, so we're able actually to help out in 3 different ways. So the first one is for people to go to local supermarkets and pick up the food. So this is the food that would otherwise be thrown away. So then we take it to OsNosh, we take it to their kitchen, and it can actually be put to use rather than it just be waste. Like Jane said, they're trying to combat food waste, which is excellent. And then people actually help out in the kitchens as well. So at OsNosh, they'll look at all the food that they've collected that day. You know, obviously every day brings new food, brings new ingredients, so it brings a new meal. So they'll look at what they've got and then try and figure out what they can do with it, try and create some really nice hot meals for people. And then they'll put them along with a crate of just some other foods. So they might get a loaf of bread, various, you know, tinned ingredients, things like that, just so the family can create their own meals as well when they're at home, so they have both options. And then the last one is one that I actually took part in, was delivering the food. So as an Oswestry local, I was actually able to help my own community and go out to deliver food to all these people, which was really rewarding, quite overwhelming actually, because you don't know who actually needs the support. And the fact that, you know, OsNosh are able to help these people in such a critical time is amazing. So yeah, it's a really great opportunity for people, and the fact that Aico are able to tell their colleagues, you know, if you want to go and support these people, you can. And you know, people do. Lots of our colleagues have got involved in it, really supported OsNosh, so they're actually able to continue to do the great things that they do.
So now we're lucky enough to get some footage from Daniel Little, our national sales manager, who actually was fortunate enough to spend the day with OsNosh out in the field. He captured some live footage of what takes place, and we're going to take a look at that now.
It's a many cheese pasta bake basically. We've got Manchego, Stilton, cheddar, red Leicester, parmesan.
Yeah, that's a lot of cheeses.
There's a lot of cheese, many a cheese.
Smells delicious.
Should have called it a many cheese pasta. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm director of OsNosh. I also lead the cooks. So what we basically do is take surplus food and donated food and redistribute it using grocery boxes and cooked up into meals. We deliver this throughout Oswestry and the surrounding area to those that are most in need. We work on a reference-based system, so we work with organisations throughout Oswestry who point people towards us, though we will also happily take people on who come to us and sort of tell us their story. Since our birth, over 2 years ago, we have, including volunteer meals, have cooked for 130 people this week, and I know that that's particularly important given that it's half term, and we've been reaching families throughout Oswestry to help lift the pressure with the lack of free school meals. That's basically us in a nutshell. Just finish by saying a big thanks to Aico and drivers for always lending a hand.
Very different day to my normal day out and about for Aico. Loved it. It's been great to see every step from collecting the food at the supermarket this morning to bringing it in, splitting it and dividing it into the boxes, helping out in the kitchen, doing my share of the washing up, and then ultimately delivering it to the people that need it. It's been great saying hello and meeting the team yeah, looking forward to doing it again.
So that was brilliant footage captured by Daniel Little. Thank you, Daniel, for that. I think it gave us a really great insight to the work OsNosh do. For more information about OsNosh, you can visit their website that's on the screen now. But that's not the only work Aico and the community have done. Jane, can you tell us more about what Aico and the community are doing this year with the initiative Support for Children?
Yeah, so 2021, we have a Charity of the Year every year, and it is in support of children. So it's various charities. We want to get involved in supporting charities, not just across Shropshire, but UK-wide. And anything we can do to support children and help to improve children's lives, I think is the key message, really. We want to work with schools, and we do an awful lot supporting education anyway, and helping with careers programs. So we want to develop that more. But yeah, it's not just about giving money, it's about other ways in which we can support. But we do want to do some fundraising, get all the staff involved in activities, which we're really looking forward to. And yeah, just can't wait to sort of get going on it really now as we come out of the pandemic, where we can start to do more. As I said, we've got these volunteering days. We've all got 3 days to volunteer within the community. So the more that we can do, then obviously the better, and to get all of our colleagues involved in various activities, yeah, it's going to be great.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Jane. That sounds really exciting. Great initiatives there with Aico and the community. If you did want to find out more, please visit the website, contact Jane and Lily if there's anything you want to discuss further.
As you may know, this Monday was International Women's Day, and to mark the occasion, Tina, Julie, Rachel and Kelly from our management team got together to discuss their experience as women working in the electrical industry, which is well known for being male-dominated. Let's hand over to them now to hear their stories.
Today, the women of Aico are celebrating International Women's Day, a global day celebrated right across the world, celebrating the social, economic, cultural and the political achievement of women. The first International Gathering Day began in 1911 and has been going for well over a century. It's marked annually on the 8th of March. The day isn't just about women, it's about everyone. It's about everyone collectively coming together for human rights. There are specific colours that represent and symbolise the International Women's Day. Purple for justice and dignity, green for hope, white for purity. These colours originated from Women's and Social Political Union in 1908. The day is important because it celebrates not just the achievement, but actually it's an opportunity for lobby for gender equality and fundraise for women's charities right across the world. I'm Tina Mistry, Relationships Manager at Aico now. I've been here for over 5 years across 3 roles. And my background is working in the public sector, working with local authority housing associations and social housing, looking at regeneration, physical and social, also working on the front line in neighbourhood management and dealing with over 52 diverse communities. And then for my sins becoming a journalist, and now then into the energy efficiency sector, and now into fire. I'm going to hand you over to Rachel.
Hi, thank you, Tina. I'm Rachel Wright, Regional Specification Manager for Surrey and Kent. I've been with Aico for just over 1.5 years now and been in the electrical industry for over 9 years.
Hi, I'm Kelly Hodgetts and I'm the Internal Sales Manager here at Aico. I've been with Aico for just over 5 years and I have a background in customer service.
Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Weaving, Regional Specification Manager for the West Midlands. I've been with Aico now for 2.5 years and I've been in the electrical industry for over 25 years.
Julie, what has it been like to be in the electrical industry for 25 years as a female?
It's a lot different now, Tina, to what it used to be. 25 years ago, I used to spend a lot of time on site and it was quite difficult because it was very male orientated, probably more so than it is now. and I'd turn up at site and you'd sort of get the looks of, oh no, you know, what's she going to know? So you had to kind of prove yourself. You have to go that extra mile to prove yourself a little bit more, I think, to be honest. It's a lot less like that now, although I still think as women in this industry, we still need to prove ourselves and go that extra mile.
I know, Rachel, you'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've been in this sector I was in a women's environment previously for 10 years and coming into the electrical industry for 9 years. I kind of like fought my way through a little bit. You do have to prove yourself. You do have to prove that, yeah, I'm not just a woman. I do have a brain. I can absorb information and I can actually help you. And once you get that through to people, and you start the conversations and the relationships, they begin to realise that, oh, actually, you do know what you're talking about, and yeah, you can help me. So instead of when you're standing with a colleague with a male and a female, they usually are drawn to the males.
Yeah, they are.
But now they get to know you, they actually think, oh, okay, I will actually go and have a conversation with Rachel. She can actually help me, and that has increased so much, and I'm really, really proud of that.
I think I agree with you in that sense. That when you go out and about, I think the ratio of male to females in this sector, especially around the electrical, and when you do turn up on site, it is quite, especially when you start on the mobile unit to training.
I think we have to prove ourselves. Like Rachel said, you know, you get to the point where they think, oh, she does know what she's talking about, but you have to get to that point with them first, because I think the instant reaction of some people can be, oh, I'd rather speak to him rather than her.
It's interesting you make that point about when you go turn up. I think if you come with a male colleague, they tend to look at the male colleague over you.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I know when I've turned up to meetings, or some of the male colleagues around me always say, Tina, you're very strong in your British standards. And you do it by purpose, because it's making sure that you are one step ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And not only do you have to have the knowledge of just awareness of the customers you're working with in terms of social housing or tenants, as well as senior management levels, it's also knowing the technical and also standards that go with it. Which is, so when I first started, I know, like you two as well as you, Kelly, you had to know a lot more very quickly in a very short, concentrated space of time, especially when you're taking over an area that's very male-dominated as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, how do you find that internally?
It's very different working in the electrical industry as doing customer service than it is in most other areas. You sort of get used to being in customer service and giving people information over the phone, and they accept that as a given, and off they go. I found when I came to work here, I was questioned an awful lot more, even though I had been technically trained, even though I knew about the standards and all the things that we need to know to be able to give customers good life-saving information. They would question it, and they would want to speak to the technical guy.
How did that make you feel though?
At first, it used to make me feel quite annoyed, you know, because I would pass them over to the technical department, who would then give them the exact same information that I had, and now they were happy with that information. Even in the short 5 years that I've been here, I have seen a shift in the perspective of the professional males that call in asking for technical help. We have actually women in our technical department. You know, we have Indra, who works in the technical team, who provides excellent technical service, as well as Dave, who's been here for a very long time. And the perception is shifting. It is slow, but it is getting there.
Is it just a matter of time then, Julie, do you think?
I think it is, you know, it's improved so much now over the last, as I've seen over the last 25 years. You can only hope now in the next 25 years it's just going to get better and better. Yeah.
What do you think, Rachel?
I think the more strong, independent women that are out there in that field, we do need more women out in the field. It puts the idea over that, you know, we are doing something, we can do this, and the more people that are out there, the more women that are out there, the easier it's becoming for the guys to think, okay, yeah, we're not just a male dominated industry. We have got females who actually have taken it on board to learn what they need to learn and give that specific advice that they need to give.
I think that's what I think we're quite, you go on to us a bit about Aico, but as strong females externally, that gives a very strong message externally to everyone in terms of the RSLs we work with, the contractors we work with. And it's interesting, it is about that time, isn't it, when you initially start. I remember starting about 5 years ago and going to the mobile unit, and I got onto the mobile unit and a bunch of electricians said, you know, is a trainer coming in? I went, no, take a seat, I'm about to start. But now you go back and those same contractors you trained fully respect you and actually come to you over a male colleague for advice. And that is that transition. I think it is about that trust. And it is a bit difficult for us, but we have, you're right, proven ourselves. And you have to have that extra mile, you have to go the extra 2 bits a mile ahead to actually achieve what you need to achieve.
Definitely.
It's not easy, but it's a sense of acceptance, isn't it? We all accept that's the way it is. But should we accept it?
I think we've just it's become the norm to accept it, to be honest. You know, I come up against some really harsh contractors on site years ago that I couldn't possibly tell you what they said, but you know, it was pretty awful. I haven't had those sort of comments for a long time, to be honest, but it was far worse. It's definitely better.
I think opportunities for women in industries like the electrical industry are smaller than in other industries, but because there is now women within the industry, women like us, it does pave the way for more people or more women to look and say, do you know what, I can do that too, and they can.
It puts the message out there, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think we do that very well at Aico. I think Neal does that very well. He puts quite a few of us female. None of us are soft by character. We're quite assertive in our approach. We don't tolerate any foul behaviour, and that says a lot about Neal and us at Aico, really, I would say.
Yeah. You have to have a certain mannerism, a certain way about you to be able to deal with that in the correct manner as well.
But it's nice to know that we've got that backing of Neal and Aico, that if we ever find ourselves in that position with somebody, then we know that we've got that backing there as well.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to work for a company that actually promotes people based on how well they can do the job and not whether they're a man or a woman.
Very much so.
Exactly. I think, look at you and I, Kelly. I mean, we started at a similar time. I mean, since I've been here, I've been promoted twice. We both sit in management team, which is quite nice to have, and to have that perspective. And I think we do provide as a female, you provide a slight different perspective from males at time because of the way we are in normal life. But I think Aico has been brilliant because it has sent that message very loud and clear. So for a female like myself to go out and speak to senior management that represents Aico is a very loud and clear message without actually saying it. And likewise yourself, Kelly, when you're out, when you speak to the wholesalers and you speak to contractors, did you get that sense as well?
Yeah, I think when they call in, if they need to speak to a manager, they're never so surprised to hear a woman on the end of the phone. These days, they deal with me the same way that they would deal with anybody else, and it partly comes from within my own confidence to be able to deal with that, which is supported by Aico giving me the opportunity to do it.
And I think if we look at ourselves in comparison to other manufacturers, we're in a very fortunate position as a company in terms of our thought leadership and the way we are forward thinking, but also if you look at ourselves with other manufacturers in other sectors, there aren't as many females out there doing what we're doing. I don't know what you think on that, Rachel.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. What you've just said. Our industry, there's not an awful lot of females out there. Aico have given us that opportunity. We've proven that we can do that, and it's absolutely fantastic that we're able to, show people the way and show women that, this is acceptable. This is what we can do.
We are starting to see more women in those external positions now. When I first had an external position, there was a team of 14. I was the only woman in that team. And yet that, you don't find that as often now. You know, we have, before you got promoted, Tim, there was 3 of us, wasn't there, in the Aico team of 23. So it's still smaller, I guess, to what it could be. But I think the other manufacturers that I see out and about, there are more women coming through now, but it's still a smaller proportion to the men that are employed.
Do you think we have to be women within this sector? Do we have to be a certain character? You touched on that, Rachel.
Yeah, definitely.
What sort of certain character would you say you have to be?
You have to be strong, definitely. You have to be strong. You've got to be assertive because you can't allow yourself to be walked over, particularly when you're out on site, as we all know. Confident, just confidence, but I think that comes with experience, and it also comes with age. That experience will come through and it will start to shine. Because it is scary when you first go out, when you're young, you know, that first time that you go out and make that first call. How scary is that, being a woman in front of, you know, loads of men? So I think confidence, experience, and just a little bit of time, really, that we all need.
Okay, do you think females bring a different aspect to the sector?
I don't know if we bring a different aspect in general. I mean, certainly we've proven that we can pick up the technical information, we can deliver the advice, we can deliver the training, we can do all the bits that are expected of anybody that works within the electrical industry, whether they're a male or a female. I think it is always just about the acceptance. Like Julie said, it's about having that confidence. It's about knowing your stuff as well. So, you know, we really have to know our stuff because it's not just walking the walk, it's talking the talk as well. Yeah. And when we've put all that together, we can do the job just as well as anybody else.
I think it's also, we're not just only women, we're also not full-time working women in a sector that can be challenging with social housing, the electrical industry, but it's also that we're mums, we're daughters, we're mother-in-laws, and we have got a whole different type of relationship outside, but we juggle it very well, and I think those life skills actually help us in what we're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult because we do our day job, and then more often than not, we have to go home and do our second job, you know, sorting the kids out, you know, doing the washing, doing the ironing, all the, you know, the boring stuff, so to speak. But it is difficult getting that balance right. It can be very hard.
And how do you feel about what you've achieved in terms of being a female at Aico and what you've been doing?
Well, when I started here at Aico, it was my first full-time role since my children had gone back into school. My youngest was just about to go up to secondary school. I thought it was time to get back into full-time work. A position opened up. It was customer service based, so I applied for it. I never thought then that I would end up managing the department that I started in. I have a team of brilliant women. It's a fully female team underneath me, and they're all just absolutely brilliant. They're an inspiration every day.
Rachel?
Myself, I'm just extremely proud to be at Aico, proud to be one of those female voices of Aico, and to be out there doing what any male or female in this industry can do, but very, very well, and have the backing of Aico.
No, I'd agree, absolutely. It's a brilliant place to work. We have the full backing. It doesn't matter that we're female, we're given the opportunities that any male in the company is given. We're all equals, and it's fantastic.
I think it's a proud place to work. I think not only the company's great, your colleagues don't differentiate between gender. We're all equals. And I think the job that we do, every single one of us has that passion and pride to genuinely make home safe. And I don't think anyone sees it any different, and that opportunity, that platform is absolutely amazing. I think it's a lovely place to work, and if anybody would want to work at Aico as a female, got a really good future ahead of them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We're now going to look at one of our frequently asked questions, which is going to be a short clip answering that question, and we'll talk about it after. Thank you.
How to test alarms. There is a lot of confusion on how to test alarms. We would always recommend doing a button test because this is a true test. So whatever alarm you have in the property, whether it be a smoke, a heat, multi-sensor or a CO alarm, all we would recommend is a button test. And all you would do is just press the test button until all the rest of the alarms all sound within the property. Then you can move on to your next alarm. This is how you test all alarms.
So a big thank you to Dave Jennings, our technical advisor, for teaching us all how to test our alarms. But that actually concludes this week's episode, and that's all we've got time for.
Yes, that's all we've got time for this week, but please make sure you subscribe to Aico TV via the YouTube channel. All the episodes will be hosted on our website, and please make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and now even TikTok. And we hope to see you again soon.